Right. Is 1, 2, 3, 4. Is my sound working okay? I'm assuming the sound's working all right. How old I look? Flipping heck. Right. That looks okay. It's my, we're doing a quick live. When I say I'm doing a quick live, what I'm actually doing today is moderation helps. No, we'll ditch that. Okay. I'm doing a live because today I've decided that it would be nice to start the audiobook of Danger in the Spanish Sun, which is my book. It's my famous 5e style book that I kind of wrote for my boys. But we've sold a few copies. It's kind of doing okay. So that's where we are. Now, I'm just going to carry on and read this whilst I... what's the best way of doing this? Hang on. So let's just dig in and let's just see where it goes. Okay. I'm struggling a bit, but we won't worry too much about it. Okay. Right. So if I begin recording the audio. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. And we're okay. Hello, I'm Brett, the author of this story. And before we dive into the adventure, I thought you might be interested in my sharing a bit about the journey that led me here and how this book came to life. Many years ago, more than I'd care to admit, my dad stumbled upon a complete set of famous 5 books in a quaint little shop tucked away in a sleepy fishing village called Beer in East Devon. Now, if you've ever visited Beer, you'll know it's the perfect place for an adventure. With its wind-swept cliffs and tales of smugglers like Beer resident Jack Rattenbury whispered through the ages, it feels like the kind of place where anything is possible. Even as a child, it wasn't hard to imagine swashbuckling escapades happening just around the corner. My dad used to read these famous 5 stories to me at bedtime, and let me tell you, for a boy with a wild imagination, those tales opened up a world full of seaside coves, hidden caves, secret treasures, and daring plots. Smugglers and thieves lurking in the shadows, I was right there with the famous 5, solving mysteries with every turn of the page. Fast forward to today, and now I'm the dad of 2 amazing young boys, George and William. Every night, I carry on the tradition of bedtime stories, just as my dad did with me. And by my side, supporting all of my wild ideas and crazy schemes, is my lovely wife, Vikki. Not to forget our little Sproodle puppy, Lola, a furry bundle of energy who's never far from the adventure herself. I've always dreamed of writing my very own adventure story, one that I could read to my boys, just like the stories I loved as a child. We bought a home in Condado de Alhama many years ago, and let me tell you, it's a place brimming with mystery and excitement. If you ever visit, you might even bump into a few of the characters from this book, though I admit I've sprinkled in a bit of artistic license here and there. After all, what's a good story without a dash of imagination? So, with that, I invite you to join us on this adventure. Who knows what mysteries we'll uncover together. Okay. So, as I say, it's my first foray into an audiobook, and I've chosen to use my book just to see how we get on. It's going to take some crazy editing, I have no doubt. So that's the introduction done. Now we head into chapter 1. George's mum, Vikki, shouted for the 3rd time, her voice slicing through the stillness of the house. George, you really need to get up. Vikki wasn't just the boys' loving mum. She was their travel agent, personal chef, organizer, and decorator, she also bore the unenviable task of rallying the household into action, a duty requiring the patience of a saint. With a husband, 2 excited boys, and a mischievous puppy to manage, mornings in their house were never dull. George groaned, burrowed deeper into his duvet. His room was dim, the curtains still drawn against the early morning light. The last thing he wanted to do was to abandon the warm cocoon of his bed. "Just 5 minutes, Mum," he mumbled, his voice muffled by the covers. But today, his usual plea for more sleep wasn't going to cut it. "No, George, your dad's finished packing the car, and we're all waiting for you." Vicky's tone sharpened with urgency, the sound of her foot stomping on the wooden floor punctuating her words. George's sleepy flog? Yep. It's going to be a lot of that. It's going to be a lot of editing. George's sleepy fog lifted like a curtain. Today was the day. The day he'd been dreaming about for months. In a heartbeat, he was awake, heart pounding with anticipation. 5 glorious weeks of sunshine, sea, and Spanish adventure stretched out before him like a summer dream. But this year was special. They were bringing Lola, the family's bouncy new black and white Sproodle puppy, on her first proper holiday. Still a ball of fluffy energy, Lola promised to add her own unique brand of mischief to the trip. George couldn't wait to see how she'd react to the beach, the waves, and the endless expanse of sand. Springing out of bed, George dressed with the efficiency of a boy on a mission. T-shirt, shorts, sneakers, check. There was no time to dawdle. Breakfast was a blur. 2 pancakes with fruit and honey wolfed down in under a minute, crumbs scattering in the haste. Teeth brushed, check. Face washed, check. Hair, well, pretty much perfect, of course. He sprayed a quick cloud of his favourite cologne, a woody vanilla scent that made him feel ready for anything. Pausing for a moment, George caught his reflection in the mirror and grinned, pretending to adjust his imaginary tie. Spain. Here I come, he thought. He gave himself a mock salute before racing back downstairs. Chaos below was almost comical. His brother William was practically bouncing off the walls, his excitement infectious. Draped in a red hoodie, slightly too big for him, William was a whirlwind of motion, hopping from one foot to another. His chatter filled the hallway as he peppered their mum with questions about the ferry and the drive and what they'd do first when they reached Spain. Lola, not to be outdone, skittered across the wooden floor, her tiny paws scrabbling for traction. She darted between William's legs, her tail wagging so hard it was a blur. She barked, spun in a circle, then barked again, as if to say, "I'm ready, let's go." Her energy seemed limitless, and her excitement added to the charged atmosphere of the morning. "Finally," William exclaimed dramatically when George appeared. His folded arms, his expression a mix of impatience and mock exasperation. "We've been waiting for hours." Yeah, George said with a grin, grabbing his backpack. George said with a grin, grabbing the backpack he'd filled with various items for the trip. "Hope you've packed some snacks for yourself, because you're not having any of mine. We all know how much you like to eat." William gasped, affronted. "What? You're the one who doesn't stop eating? Remember last summer? Mum had to ban you from the fridge." George shrugged, unbothered. "I need fuel. Adventurers are always ready for action." Lola barked in agreement, dashing toward the door. She bounced on her hind legs, pawing up at the air as if urging everyone to hurry up. Outside, their dad was securing the last of the luggage in the car. The vehicle was packed to bursting, bags crammed into every available space. A cooler was wedged between the boys' seats, and a precarious stack of George's manga books and snacks occupied the rest of the back seat. Lola's blanket was spread out beside it. ready for her to settle in. Right, boys, their dad called, locking the front door with a click. This is it. Everybody ready? The house stood silent behind them, a backdrop to the momentous occasion. As they pulled off the driveway, the sun began its ascent, casting a golden glow over the quiet roads. The cool morning air streamed through the open windows, carrying with it the scent of freshly cut grass and blooming flowers. As they drove through town, they passed familiar landmarks, the old oak tree in the park where George had once broken his arm trying to climb too high, the bakery that always smelled of fresh bread, and the little post office with its red door. George felt a pang of nostalgia, but the excitement of what lay ahead quickly overtook it. George leaned back in his seat, letting the breeze tussle his hair. Hang on. Yep. What's going on? Well, you've just ruined it, haven't you? What ruined? Well, I'm in the middle of a very, very important broadcast, and now you've totally ruined it. Are you live? You know I am. I can hear me in the background. Unbelievable. I wonder if he's live. Yeah. Or if this is a recording broadcasters live. No, so this is yeah, no, this is live. And what I'm doing, look, let me show you on the screen. Yeah. Go on, I'm just gonna turn the telly down. So there's no delay. Look at that. What I'm doing is Danger in the Spanish sun. Yeah, I'm adventure on Condado. Hang on, I need to take this off. I'm glad you phoned because it's ever so warm in here. Hang on. Yeah. Oh, crumbs. So, yeah. So the trouble is, this is going to be a nightmare for me to edit now. Shall I just be in it? What? Shall I just be in it? Well, it's difficult, isn't it? Because what I'm doing is because you clearly you haven't bought a copy of my book. I'm literally doing this audio book for you and Nicholas. Well, I could. Oh, hang on. Yeah. Talking of which, I've just got a little bit of spit back. Just in a bottle. There we go, mate. All right, all sorted. Here we go. Just a little bit of milk. Yeah. Over his face. There we go. Can I get back to my reading now or what? I don't even know where I am. Well, the only reason I didn't buy a copy is because I couldn't read the title. What? So what I've gone with is a more pink broadcaster. Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Technically. Well, I'll let you go. I'm just going to. If I sit and watch it. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to do what I've decided to do. I'm going to do 2 chapters a day so that it's not too much for me. No, well, don't overdo it. I don't want to go crazy. Well, I don't want to go mad with it, do I? And I've got William's got to be picked up from school soon. Yeah. Exactly. What time is it? It's 2:15. I've got to go and get a load of gear at 4 o'clock. Oh, go on. Yeah. I'm going to watch you. Yep. And then I want to go and have a poo. Oh, I've just had one myself. Brilliant. Because I wanted to be comfortable. YouTubing. All right. Yeah. I said to Vikki, I said, look, I may as well just go live while I read. If I'm going to read it anyway, I may as well go. And it's like I've got a bit of company then. Yeah. And it's never going to be, nothing could possibly go wrong. Oh, well, no. It's going to call you live, are they? Well, no, because people will know I'm live. To be honest with you, nobody ever phones me really anyway. So I'm not worried. I don't think I'll get disturbed. No. What could possibly go wrong? Yeah. Right. Go back to reading. I'll see you shortly. Do you remember what I just said? Because I've just let this audition is over here. No.
I remember you saying, I remember you going wrong a couple of times.
Yeah.
The dog was bounding at the front door in agreement with William or George.
I don't really know where I am. Oh, okay. I'll find it. Listen, don't panic, because I can tell you're worried.
All right, I am a little bit. I'll see you later.
Love you. Bye. That was all part of the book. Right. George leaned back in his seat, letting the breeze tussle his hair. The familiar neighborhood street soon gave way to the rolling hills of the countryside. The further they drove, the more the scenery changed. Quiet lanes became highways, and soon they were passing fields of green and shimmering forests bathed in soft light. I bet Lola's gonna love the beach, William said, scratching the puppy behind her floppy ears. She responded with an enthusiastic lick to his cheek, making him laugh. Let's just hope she doesn't chase after seagulls, their dad remarked with a chuckle. Last thing we need is her running into the sea after one of those birds. Or digging up someone's sandcastle, Vikki added, glancing back at the boys with a knowing smile. The miles rolled by, but the car's occupants weren't content to sit in silence. Well, that doesn't sound right, does it? The miles rolled by, but the car's occupants weren't content to sit in silence. The boys had already started a game of I Spy, which grew increasingly absurd as they ran out of obvious things to name. I spy, with my little eye, something beginning with O, William declared quickly as they drove past a broken down car on the hard shoulder. Overheated radiator, George answered triumphantly, smirking as William pouted. After an hour, their dad pulled the car into a quaint tea shop on the outskirts of Devon. The building was charming, with ivy climbing its stone walls and a sign that read, "The Weary Traveller," swaying gently in the breeze. George's eyes lit up as he read the sign. This place looks lovely. Inside, the tea shop was warm and inviting, with low wooden beams and the scent of freshly baked scones, and brewing tea filled the air. A kindly woman with silver hair and twinkling eyes greeted them at the door. Welcome! Passing through on a holiday, are you? She asked, her voice rich with local Devonshire accent. That's right, Vikki replied with a smile. We're on our way to Spain, a little place called Matheron on the south coast. Ah, I know it well. A long journey ahead. The woman said no. Ah, I know it well. A long journey ahead, the woman said knowingly. Take your time and enjoy a break here. The family found a cozy corner by the window, overlooking a garden bursting with brightly coloured flowers. The table was already set with mismatched china, and a teapot decorated with tiny painted ships soon arrived, steaming and fragrant. William eagerly reached for a scone, his eyes widening when he discovered the generous dollop of clotted cream and strawberry jam accompanying it. This is the best scone I've ever had, he said, with his mouth full, drawing a chuckle from their dad. The elderly woman returned with more tea and leaned in conspiratorially. The elderly woman returned with more tea and leaned in conspiratorially. Matheron and the surrounding area is lovely, but you watch yourselves along that coast. George tilted his head. Why? Is there something we should know? The woman glanced around, her demeanour suddenly serious. I can't say too much. The walls have ears, you know, she said, winking. But there's been talk of smugglers operating along that stretch of the coast. They've been using secret coves to move goods between here in Devon and southern Spain. Some say they're dangerous folk. Gotta look out for dangerous folk. Smugglers, William whispered, his eyes wide, like pirates. The woman chuckled softly, but her eyes held a tint of concern. Something like that. They work in the shadows, and not all of them take kindly to strangers snooping around. She tapped her nose. Just keep your wits about you, that's all. As they left the tea shop, George couldn't shake the feeling that they'd stumbled into the edge. Oh, no. As they left the tea shop, George couldn't shake the feeling that they'd stumbled onto the edge of an adventure. The seed of intrigue was planted firmly in his mind, and as he climbed back into the car, he couldn't help but grin. Smugglers, eh? This holiday just got a lot more interesting. As the car pulled away, the ivy-clad tea shop disappeared into the distance, but the sense of mystery lingered. George stared out of the window, his mind already racing with possibilities. Whatever awaited them in Spain, he was certain this summer would be unforgettable. Whatever awaited them in Spain, he was certain this summer would be unforgettable. Right, we're on chapter 2. How exciting. Just so that you know, this is Tony. Danger. Honestly, it's so unprofessional. Lola's going to love it. Yep. Good God. Oops. Yep. Unbelievable. Right. I put him on silent. I can only apologize. The book is Danger in the Spanish Sun. And we're on chapter 2. There's a picture on this one. Look. Look at that. That is a picture of the Pont Aven ship in port in Plymouth. Yep. It's right, isn't it? I took that. Chapter 2. All aboard the Pont Aven. When they reached the port in Plymouth, George pressed his face against the car window, eyes wide with excitement as the ferry terminal came into view. The colossal Brittany ferry, the Pont Aven, towered over the line of cars like a floating city. Its pristine white exterior gleamed in the sunlight, and the blue and orange of its logo seemed to promise adventure and exploration. The scent of salt air mingled with the faint tang of diesel as the family approached the loading area. Wow, George breathed, craning his neck to take it all in. It's massive. I can't believe we're going on that. It's like a skyscraper on water, William exclaimed, bouncing in his seat. Lola let out an excited bark, her tail wagging furiously, as if she too understood the significance of the moment. As they approached the checkpoint, their dad, Brett, rolled down the window to chat with the border patrol officer. She was a cheerful woman who asked about their journey and inspected their documents with practiced efficiency. Off to Spain, are we? She asked with a smile. Sounds wonderful. Have a great trip, she said, waving them through. George leant back in his seat as they joined the line of cars waiting to board the ferry. The queue moved steadily, and soon they were approaching the ramp into the belly of the ship. George felt a thrill of anticipation as the dim, cavernous parking deck drew closer. The air was thick with the mingled smells of salt water and diesel fuel, and the metallic clanking of chains echoed around them. George couldn't help but feel a flutter of nerves in his stomach. The Pont Aven was so much bigger than he'd imagined. Mum, is this a cruise ship? William asked, his voice filled with awe as he struggled to take it all in. Not quite, but close enough, Mum chuckled, turning in her seat to look back at the boys. But it's got everything you'll need. There's a swimming pool, a cinema, plenty of places to explore. It's like a mini holiday before we even get to Spain. George watched as they slowly inched forward in the line of cars. The ferry's yawning entrance, not growling. Entrances don't growl, do they? What? Hang on a minute. Hang on. Oops, yep. Over. Looking forward to hearing my cameo. Yep. Right, where am I? But it's got everything you'll need. There's a swimming pool, a cinema, and plenty of places to explore. It's like a mini holiday before we even get to Spain. Can somebody just do the little chat? Look, because there's nothing in the chat. Be nice. I know there's not really anyone here, but it'd be nice. Right. George watched as they slowly inched forward in the line of cars, the ferry's yawning entrance growing larger and larger until it looked like it could swallow them whole. His fingers tapped restlessly on the edge of the seat. Once they were parked below deck, their dad said, "Can someone remember we're on deck 4 purple? I'll forget. You know I've got a head like a sieve." Luckily, Mum was rather more organised. George grabbed his backpack and looked around the massive space. He felt dizzy with excitement, or was it the diesel fumes, now even stronger? Lola, curious as ever, sniffed the air eagerly, her little tail wagging furiously. However, Lola's excitement turned to indignation as Brett slipped a muzzle over her snout, a condition of having dogs on the ferry's communal areas. She wriggled and pawed at it, clearly unimpressed. "It's just for a little while," George said, giving her a reassuring hug. "Once we're settled, you'll forget all about it." All she could think is, what if someone were to offer her a sausage or maybe a biscuit? This was an impossible situation. As they made their way into the cabin, George felt like they were stepping into another world. The walls hummed with the steady vibration of the engines. The family navigated the narrow staircases and hallways, finally reaching their cabin. It was compact but cozy, with a large circular window that William quickly realised he could lounge in as he watched the waters of the bustling Plymouth harbour, their surface shimmering under the midday sun. "I can see everything from here," he exclaimed. "The cars, the cranes, the seagulls. It's amazing." "Don't get your fingerprints all over the window," Mum said with a laugh, unpacking their overnight bags. Once settled, they ventured out to explore the ship. George felt a sense of adventure as they wandered through the labyrinth of corridors, past the cinema, restaurants, and shops. The hum of the engines vibrated beneath their feet, a constant reminder that they were about to embark on an epic journey. They eventually found their way through the ship and out onto the top deck where Mum, Dad, George, William, and Lola watched as the ferry began to pull away from the port. Cliffs and buildings outside slowly receding into the distance. As the ship pulled further away, the details begin to blur, and the earthy tones of cliffs and greyness of the port and its buildings merging into a soft palette of blues and greys. The cries of seagulls overhead mingled with distant sounds of the harbour, creating a symphony of nature and maritime life as the ship ventured further into the open sea. On the top deck, George and William leaned against the railing, the cool breeze ruffling their hair. "This is it," George said, a grin spreading across his face. "We're officially on our way to Spain." "Do you think we'll see dolphins?" William asked, his eyes scanning the water. "Do you think we'll see dolphins?" William asked, his eyes scanning the water eagerly. "Maybe," Mum said. "Keep an eye out. They like to jump in and out of the water in the ship's wake." "Well," George said, turning around with an exaggerated air of importance. "First stop, duty free. I need to check out the colognes." William groaned, rolling his eyes dramatically. "Again with the cologne. You're obsessed. And yet you never smell any better," he laughed as they made their way along the corridor, dropping Lola back to their cabin and then onto deck 8. In the ship's duty-free store stood Tony, the sales assistant, an expert on anything to do with colognes. Tony? Yep. Unbelievable. In the ship's duty-free store, George... Yes, there you are. Look, you were in there. I don't know how I'm going to edit you around, but we'll work on it. This is where it gets exciting. Okay. In the ship's duty-free store, George darted between shelves, stacked high with bottles of perfume and cologne, spritzing and sniffing like he was on a mission. The air soon became thick with the mingling scents of citrus, sandalwood and spice, each one promising to transport him to some exotic place. William entertained himself by spraying random bottles and making a show of sniffing his wrist dramatically, giggling as he waved away a cloud of scent. "Have you sprayed yourself with enough aftershaves?" George asked William. "At least you no longer smell of feet." "Smell this one," George exclaimed, pushing his wrist toward their dad. "Do I smell like an explorer?" "What do you think?" he asked. "You smell like you've bathed in toilet cleaner," William retorted, laughing. George ignored the comment and continued sniffing various bottles, each one more exotic than the last. Eventually, he found a fragrance he declared perfect, turned to their dad with a hopeful expression. "It's an investment," he insisted, "for my adventurous image." I do ever think about just as we step away from the book, the amount of wasted cologne, because kids these days just spray themselves with so much cologne. It's bonkers. And every spray is expensive, isn't it? What really should have happened is Tony should have been a security guard in the cologne store to make sure children didn't spray it. No job for you. Brett chuckled, but relented, adding the cologne to their basket. "Fair enough, buddy. You need to smell the part." With their noses filled with every possible scent, they eventually wandered into one of the ferry's restaurants, the smell of fresh food mingling in the air. George and William spent the next hour playing Uno by the giant windows and looked out over the endless blue horizon. Every now and then, George would glance up from his cards and stare out at the ocean, his mind wandering at all the possibilities that awaited them. Glancing down at his duty-free shopping bag containing the new fragrance that he'd convinced his dad to buy. "I'd have a nightstick." Do you remember nightsticks? Years ago, there was a thing called a nightstick, and it was like a black pole stick thing, and you would attach it to your steering wheel. I don't know if they were any good or not. I did have one. Someone gave it to me. We did a promotion for it. "Dolphins!" Mum explained. They all looked up suddenly as the surface of the ocean broke as a playful pod of dolphins emerged, their sleek bodies arching gracefully through the water. "Oh, wow!" the boys said in unison as they sat watching the dolphins, mesmerized as they jumped out of the water and then back into the depths with a delightful splash. Once again, the boys quickly immersed themselves in game after game as they munched through the candy stashed in their pockets. Rupert, a friendly waiter with an infectious smile, stopped by to ask how they were doing, his cheery disposition making him an instant hit with the boys. Rupert was French, as were most of the staff on board, but he spoke excellent English. He certainly seemed to enjoy his job, chatting to all the customers as they lined up at the till to pay for their food, which occasionally held up the queue when he became engrossed in conversation. "First time on the Pont Aven?" he asked, setting down a basket of freshly baked rolls. "Yes," Brett said. "It's quite the ship." "Ah, she's a beauty," Rupert agreed. "But she holds many secrets, no?" George's ears perked up. "Secrets?" Rupert winked. "Every ship has her stories. You never know what you might discover. My advice is to head back into the shop and explore the book section." The boys exchanged excited glances, their imaginations already racing. Rupert's cryptic comment lingered in their minds as they finished their meal and prepared to explore more of the ship. "Tony, yes, of course you're French. It's a French ship. Everybody's French." Jesus. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, the family returned to the deck. The air was cooler now, and the stars were beginning to appear, twinkling like tiny lanterns in the darkening sky. George and William leaned against the railing, watching the waves shimmer in the moonlight. Do you think Rupert was serious? William asked. About the ship having secrets? Maybe, George said. But even if he wasn't, I think there's something special about this trip. I can feel it. As they stood there, another pod of dolphins surfaced nearby, their sleek bodies gliding through the water with effortless grace. The family watched in awe as their excitement building with it. The family watched in awe, their excitement building with each leap and splash. This is going to be the best summer ever, George said, his voice barely above a whisper. He didn't know why, but he felt it deep down, like a secret he couldn't quite put into words. And it's only just begun, William replied, a spark of excitement in his eyes. The ship sailed on into the night, the promise of mystery and excitement waiting just beyond the horizon. The rhythmic sound of waves against the hull and the occasional call of seabirds felt like nature's own symphony, setting the perfect stage for their adventure that lay ahead. The family retired to the bar area and watched the entertainer. No, they didn't. The family retired to the bar area to watch the entertainment. However, George and William snuck back out onto the deck. The cool breeze tugged at their clothes as they stood by the railing, looking out at the dark waves beneath them. Ferry was quiet. The hum of the engines and the faint sound of the ship slicing through the water lulled them into a state of calm. George felt his heart quicken as he gazed out at the vast expanse of water. There was something thrilling about being out here, in the middle of the ocean, with nothing but the stars and waves stretching out before them. It felt like they were on the edge of something big, something exciting, something just waiting to be discovered. I bet we can find treasure, George whispered, dramatically nudging William. William grinned. Or pirates. Or both. Right. That is chapter 3 coming up in a minute. There, look at that. But I'm not, oh, hang on. What's going on? Oh, hang on. Just a second. Whoa, hang on, just a minute. That was a little knock on the door from, whoa, hello, darling. Come here. Come here. Oh, there she is. That was a little knock on the door from Lola. She could tell that I was in the middle of reading, but she just felt she should be a little part of it, didn't you, my darling? Yeah. Not my ear, darling. Not my ear. Don't lick. So there we are. Should we let you down? There we go. Lola's got a little bed back here where she's gone to just to chill out for a bit. So Lola's, as you know, Lola's a big star of the book. I know you're desperate to see what's going on. Danger in the Spanish Sun, Adventure on Condado de Alhama. So if you want to just crack on with the book, I'll be back tomorrow to do. I'll be back tomorrow to do some more book. But if you can't wait, then you could always buy a copy. So, right, there we go. All good. We're done now. I'm going to go because I've read my bit. Lola is there. She's decided her bed's over there, but she's decided to come and lie down under the desk. So that's all good. Right. I'll go. I guess we'll do this tomorrow. Should we say 2 o'clock? I don't know. It's a Saturday though, isn't it? It's whether or not we do we do a Saturday or not? What about? Yeah, I know, Tony. It is awkward. What do you think, Tony? What time's good for you tomorrow? Just so I know. And there is one other person as well. What time's good for you? And we'll do it tomorrow. Give you the next couple of chapters. Any idea? Look at the time. Wednesday. No, I'm going to do 2 a day because the trouble is I'll never get through it otherwise. And I've got to load it up onto Audible because that's apparently that's where it's at. So I've got to load it onto Audible. Danger in the Spanish Sun. It's available on Amazon right now. I'll go now. Yeah. Oh, your stream will stop immediately and you will no longer be live. It's just the way it goes.